Hi everyone, this is Maflor. Today we will be discussing biconditional, inverse, converse, and contrapositive statements. Let us recall yung conditional statement. We represent conditional statement as if P then Q. Let us recall na yung small letter P represents our hypothesis and Q naman yung ating conclusion. For example, if you were given a statement, even number is divisible by 2. So, how do we determine or how do we write this in conditional statement? Take note, if a conditional statement is not written in if-then form, first thing we have to do is we have to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. So, paano nga ba natin makukuha yung hypothesis at conclusion? So, madali lang. So, yung statement natin na even number is divisible by 2, take note, kapag hypothesis, ang nire-refer natin doon ay yung subject. So, dito sa statement na to, ano nga ba yung subject natin? So, ang subject natin ay even number. So, this would be our hypothesis. Now, paano naman natin makukuha kung ano yung conclusion nito? So, yung conclusion naman nito, yung predicate ng ating sentence. So, when we say predicate, it tells something about the subject. So, including yung verb dito. So, ang predicate natin ay is divisible by 2. So, therefore, this would be our conclusion. Next step na gagawin natin is we're gonna rewrite the sentence in the if-then form and we're gonna add some words to complete yung thought ng ating sentence. Isulat lang natin na naka-if-then form and then ilagay lang natin ano ba yung hypothesis natin. So, yung hypothesis natin ay even number. So, i-arrange lang natin para magkaroon ng sense yung ating statement and then we're gonna add some words. I-add natin yung is at yung a. So, if a number is even. And then, sa conclusion naman, yung conclusion natin is divisible by 2. And mag-add lang tayo ng word. So, magdagdag lang tayo ng word na it. Kaya, then, it is divisible by 2. Therefore, yung ating conditional statement would be, if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. So, yung hypothesis natin ay, a number is even, at yung conclusion naman natin ay, it is divisible by 2. Let's have an example. To represent yung conditional statement, kailangan ito ay nakasulat ng if-then form. To represent in symbol, we use small letter P to represent yung hypothesis at Q naman ay yung ating conclusion. So, etong symbol natin, in symbol, P, tapos naka-arrowhead pointing to the right, naka-point dun sa ating conclusion. We read this as if P then Q. For example, if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. Take note, when we say hypothesis, it is the clause after ng word ng if and ended by a comma. So dito, sa example natin, ang hypothesis natin ay a number is even. Now, to find naman yung ating conclusion, ay ito yung clause after ng word na then and ended by a period or point. So, dito, yung ating conclusion would be, it is divisible by 2. Next is, what is inverse statement? When we say inverse statement, we're gonna negate the hypothesis and the conclusion. In symbol, we represent this as not P. So, yung naka-curl sa unahan ng ating hypothesis at ng ating conclusion. So, may yung naka-curl na symbol na yon, ang tawag doon ay not P. Then, arrowhead pointing to the right, nakapoint siya doon sa not Q or doon sa ating conclusion. So, we read this as, if not P, then not Q. For example, so yung kanina nating conditional statement, ang gagawin lang natin, lalagyan lang natin ng word na not or no, or yung opposite ng ating sentence or ng ating clause para maging inverse siya. So, dito sa example natin, if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. So, lagyan lang natin ng word na not, yung hypothesis, at ganun din yung ating conclusion. So, we write this as, if a number is not even, then it is not divisible by 2. So, this is an example of inverse statement. Next naman is what is converse statement. So when we say converse statement, we interchange the hypothesis and conclusion. When we say interchange, pagbabaliktarin lang natin yung hypothesis at yung conclusion doon sa if-then statement. In symbol, we represent this Q, arrowhead pointing to the right, pointing naman doon sa ating hypothesis. So dito, interchange or sinwitch, nagpalit ng pwesto. So we read this as if Q, then P. So, for example, di ba yung conditional statement natin, if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. So, ito yung ating conditional statement. To make this converse statement, a converse statement, so, pagbabalik-tarin lang natin, di ba, ang hypothesis natin, a number is even. Tapos yung conclusion natin ay it is divisible by 2. Pagpalitin lang natin sila ng pwesto. So, yung converse statement natin would be, if a number is divisible by 2, then it is even. So, mapapansin ninyo, nauna yung ating conclusion na a number is divisible by 2. Tapos, yung sumunod naman ay followed by yung ating hypothesis which is it is even. So, this is an example of a converse statement. So, we interchange or we switch the position ng ating hypothesis at conclusion. And lastly, ano naman pag sinabi natin contrapositive? When we say contrapositive, we negate and interchange the hypothesis and conclusion. Ibig sabihin, na-negate mo na at in-interchange mo or sinwitch mo pa yung position ng hypothesis at conclusion. So, to represent this in symbol, so we use again yung curl na symbol, that is not Q, arrowhead pointing to the right, which is our not P, which is our hypothesis. So, we read this as, if not Q, then not P. For example, di ba ang conditional statement natin ay if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. So, ang gagawin lang natin not, inverse natin, and then gagawin nating converse. So, dalawa ang gagawin. I-negate at i-interchange. So, therefore, our statement would be, if a number is not divisible by 2, then it is not even. So, kung mapapansin ninyo na nauna yung ating conclusion. So, ang conclusion natin nauna at may word na not. So, if a number is not divisible by 2. Tapos, yung ating namang hypothesis would be, it is not even. So, nahuli yung ating hypothesis. At meron siyang word na not. So, this would be our example for contrapositive statement. Let's have another example. Right angle measures 90 degrees. Identify muna natin kung ano yung hypothesis at yung conclusion. So, dito yung subject natin ay right angle. So, this would be our hypothesis. And then, our conclusion would be yung ating predicate. It tells something about the subject. So, dito ang predicate natin ay measures 90 degrees. So, this would be our conclusion. So, yung unang gagawin natin is we're gonna write this in conditional statement. So, yung conditional statement natin ay if P, then Q. Dahil alam na natin kung ano yung hypothesis at conclusion natin, we're gonna rewrite the statement into an if-then form. So, dito kunin lang natin yung hypothesis natin na right angle. So, magdagdag lang tayo ng words, which is yung an at saka yung is. And then, sa conclusion natin, so ilagay lang natin yung conclusion natin na measures 90 degrees and we're gonna add yung word na it. And then, yung ating conditional statement would be, if an angle is right, then it measures 90 degrees. Yung ating hypothesis would be, an angle is right. At yung conclusion naman natin, it measures 90 degrees. Next na gagawin natin is we're gonna write an inverse statement based dito sa conditional statement na binigay sa atin kanina. To write this in inverse statement, we can rewrite yung statement natin, if not P, then not Q. So, take note, pag sinabi natin inverse, we're gonna right yung negation ng ating hypothesis at conclusion. So, pwedeng tayo maglagay ng word na not or no. So, our inverse statement would be, if an angle is not right, then it does not measure 90 degrees. Does not measures. So, our inverse statement would be, if an angle is not right, then it does not measure 90 degrees. So, dito makikita mo, ang ating hypothesis ay, an angle is not right. May word na not. And then, yung ating conclusion naman ay, it does not measure 90 degrees. Meron ding word na not. So, yung inverse statement natin, lalagyan lang natin ng negation ang kanyang hypothesis at yung kanyang conclusion. How do we write naman yung converse statement given this conditional statement na if an angle is right, then it measures 90 degrees? So, kapag sinabi natin converse, ang gagawin lang natin dito ay i-interchange lang natin or i-switch lang natin yung places ng hypothesis at conclusion. So, pagpalitin lang natin. So, we can write our statement na if Q, then P. From our conditional statement, our hypothesis is an angle is right at yung conclusion naman natin ay it measures 90 degrees. So, converse, switch lang natin or interchange lang yung position ng hypothesis and conclusion. So, we can write yung converse statement natin as if an angle measures 90 degrees, then it is a right. So, our conclusion would be an angle measures 90 degrees at yung atin namang hypothesis would be it is a right. Lastly, how do we change our conditional statement to contrapositive statement? So, paano nga ba? So, we can write our statement na if not Q, then not P. So, take note, when we say contrapositive, what we're gonna do is we're gonna negate and interchange the hypothesis and conclusion. It means that we're gonna put the word not or no sa hypothesis at sa conclusion at isa-switch place lang or pagpapalitin lang natin yung position ng hypothesis at conclusion. So, our contrapositive statement would be, if an angle does not measure 90 degrees, then it is not a right. Therefore, our conclusion would be an angle does not measure 90 degrees and then yung ating hypothesis ay it is not a right.